Chairman Tucker, members of the board, Mr. Patolka, please give you, let's see, make sure I give you the right one because I have two. The final state accreditation report you have in your packet. So Mary Jane and I work on this together, so we're both up here. But in this report, I gave you this preliminary report back in June. So you can see here that all of our schools are accredited. Mountain View is accredited with conditions. You can see that in the overall rating, and it's color-coded. Green is good, yellow, red not so good. But if you go across in the different areas, you can see on the spreadsheet for math, the high schools are fully accredited. They've met the benchmark, and those are in English, for instance, 75, they were at 89. Math, the benchmark is 70 and they are at 73. Science is 70 and they are at 83. And then it's broken down by the achievement gaps. We have the English achievement gap, and you can see there the subgroups, and you can see the benchmarks that they made. And here again for English, they're supposed to make 75%. TS means too small. So it means that subgroup, there were not enough in that subgroup to measure and give it accurate data.
How many is too small?
30. Yes, sir. Then for the math achievement subgroup, same information is there. You can see that we are in yellow. The reason being, the good thing is we did, under the disadvantaged, we reduced the RT10 means we reduced the failure rate by 10%. That's a good thing. We also did that in our students with disabilities. So we are in yellow for that area. And then under chronic absenteeism, the goal is to be less than or equal to 15% or at 20%. The graduation completion index, the goal is 88%. We have 95%. The dropout rate is less than or equal to 6%. We are at 3.4%. The college and career readiness, the goal is greater than or equal to 85%. This will not be measured for accreditation until 2021. And that should be 2020, 2021. That is a typo, I'm sorry. They did, however, provide that data for us for this year, and we are at 71%. And a lot of that is when we were looking at the data, we have a lot, and actually most of our students complete a credentialing test where they have to in order to graduate if they're a standard diploma or less. But part of this for college and career is that they have to be a completer, a CTE completer, and pass the test. We have a lot of students, most of our students actually take a CTE course, but they have to be a completer. In order to be a completer, they have to complete a 2-year sequence. I've had students, when we go through and pull this data, it just means that they may have taken 5 different courses, but they're not sequenced CTE courses. So we're going to work on getting them to, for instance, if they take Small Animal Care 1, we want them to take Small Animal Care 2 to be a completer. So we're going to work on that at the high school. You can see the data for each individual school. Clifton Middle School, fully accredited. Callahan, fully accredited. Mountain View is accredited with conditions. They have to work on math, bring that up, but we are in that process. And Sharon is fully accredited.
The word fully is no longer used.
Excuse me, thank you. We accredited, we had that discussion today, so I apologize. Thank you.
I'd like to point a couple of things out if you're looking at that. When we gave this report back in June, they weren't sure about subgroups. That's the big change for us. They count too small, less than 30, but so they also do it over a 3-year average. So if you have 10 students one year and 10 the next and 10 the following year, your 3-year average then is counted. Back in June, they weren't using that. So if you take a look, okay, where from Mountain View, where we thought they would be in green as well. Mountain View, if you see, the 1 year average, 1 year was 43, which was too small, but they counted the 3 year. We didn't know that, and we didn't know the same thing with disabilities. So this is across the Commonwealth. If you take a look at Mountain View scores, under English, they're at 75. Under math, they're 71, and science, 77. So under the old system, they would have been fine. We opted for the new system, and so this is where we stand. The other part is, if you're in yellow or red, you have 4 years to improve, okay? Or you're now on an unaccredited school. That begins 2018 and 19. There was some discussion about looking back 4 years. Superintendent said that's pretty unfair because we didn't know you were going to use this data. We helped design this. And so we think it's more fair, more accurate, particularly there for the longest time, mid-sized and large-sized schools were being held more accountable because the end sample was too small, it was 50. And so therefore a lot of schools didn't have to use those numbers. Now we're going to take a look at the individual subgroups and look to close the achievement gap. And that's one of the goals in there. So we're excited about this. We had a 45-day data meeting with our principals today. They have identified students that need assistance. I've got plans in place, and as we move forward, we'll see things continue on the right track.
So I've got, are you guys done? I didn't want to. Yeah. So when I look at this, what is SWD? I just want to.
Students with disabilities.
Okay, so it seems like the students with disabilities is kind of like really low. So when they do this accreditation process, do they like combine these students' grades along with whether or not we're accredited or not? Is that how this works?
In the past, we've been under a dual system of accreditation. We've had to meet both federal standards and state standards, and if you've been on the board before, you'll remember me talking about that, much like income tax, state and federal, we had state and federal accreditation. This new system is actually sort of a combination of the two systems, and now we're under one system. So what we used to call gap groups for the federal system are now called subgroups for the new accreditation system. So not only do we have to meet the state standards for the all student subgroup, we're expected to meet those for each of the subgroups as well.
The only thing that counts are SEL scores. It doesn't count the grades or anything else.
Yeah. So, when I first got this packet and I looked through all this information, when I see these, really low scores like 58, 51, 44, and, the different subjects, English and math, it makes me wonder, are we putting, resources where they need to be? And that's, at the year end last year, or in July, we didn't spend close to approximately $900,000 of prior year funds were not expensed. Okay, remember the report? I said, well, what positions did we not fill? Because it said on that report, what positions did we not fill? Well, recently I found out, finally, after asking 5 times, those positions were speech pathologists. I think 3 of them, maybe 2, 3. And then, so I decided, to look up the rest of the last 4 years of those reports that are produced. So in 2015, we didn't spend $1.2 million. 2016, we didn't spend $534,000. 2017, we didn't spend $968,000. Obviously, 2018, $846,000. That's $3.5 million in the last 4 years that we didn't spend. And on those reports, just 5 sheets of paper, the details were position vacancies weren't spent, substitute funds, position vacancies, wages and benefits, substitute funds, position vacancies, wages and benefits. So there's this trend that I'm looking at when I review these reports that either 2 things I think are happening. One, we're asking for too much money, okay? Or we're not spending it the way we need to. those two questions, I don't understand why in 4 years, $3.5 million was not spent the way we asked the Board of Supervisors for money for it in order to spend it. So that's why, some of the questions I ask, I have a deep concern about our priorities. When I look at this, it doesn't seem like we're putting resources where they belong. So then I decided, because I was very interested in this, the Virginia Department of Education puts out quality reports for those in special needs. And so if you compare the last 4 years, one of the statistics and benchmarks that they ask for is the number of IEP students graduating from high school with a standard diploma. It's kind of like the gold certificate. This is what we want our high school students to get. The state benchmark, I think, is in the 60 percentile. We ranked like 30%. We didn't meet any of these state standards and benchmarks the last 4 years. I don't know what happened last year. They have a report out there. Proficiency in math. We didn't meet the state benchmark the last 4 years. So one person would have to wonder, are we putting our priorities where they need to be if we have such low progress reports and yet $3.5 million of unspent money over the last 4 years? So I just ask, are we putting our priorities where they're supposed to be?
I would ask you, did anybody explain all of this to you? Did you ask this question before? Have you had answers to the same question you're asking, where the money goes or how it's accumulated?
No, this is a broader question.
Well, have you not asked those same questions to the superintendent or Calvin or anybody in finance to explain to you how the money gets accumulated?
I know how the money gets accumulated. You just put it on a piece of paper.
Well,
So I'm asking why. I'm not asking why it's accumulating. I'm asking why it's not spent.
every year when you have people leave, or people retire with more experience, you hire younger people, that does save money.
Yes, but when you put in there vacant positions that don't get filled 3 years in a row, I mean, typically I can go into a school system and say, hey, we're missing a principal. Hey, we're missing a teacher. And when you ask for money, you say, we want to hire 3 speech pathologists to provide speech therapy, speech skills, English skills to students with disabilities, and you don't fill those positions, there's a problem.
Mr. Kern, do you need Ms. Municipal, Ms. Hobbs up there anymore?
No.
I'd like to have them sit down. Thank you. And again, Mr. Kern, I've invited you into my office. You have not been to Mr. Rice's office. We'd be more than happy to explain it to you. Virginia School Board Association has explained it to you. Be more than happy to go over it to you at times. We have hired those positions. And by the way, I'm not sure what reports you're reading, but our schools have been...
Actually, I brought them.
Our
If you want to
schools,
look at it, I can point it out.
our schools have been accredited for the last 4 years, so I'm not sure what you're reading, but I'd be more than happy to go over with you. But again, I would encourage you to take some time to learn what it's all about how to run a school board and how to run a school division, and come in and visit us. Be more than happy to meet with you, and so would Mr. Rice. Thank you.
I think it's a good thing. When I first came on the board, I spent many evenings down in the school board office going through budget and had to explain anything in it. Still took me 3 or 4 years to really understand it. So to look at something and think the money we accumulated, if we hadn't had an agreement to turn back to the Board of Supervisors, what would have went, which they would spend on something else, the schools would go with that. And the money that we do, are fortunate enough to save in a lot of cases, helps us fund everything that we do in our buildings and everything else throughout the year. So it's not like the money's just put back and wasted. It goes in the capital improvement where it's needed. And I thought y'all had this conversation before.
Well, we've had conversations, but the question is, the beginning of the year last year, you said, Board of Supervisors, we need to hire 2 speech pathologists to provide services for kids. please fund us the money. That's the whole budget process. They said, sure, they gave you the money. At the end of the year, according to Kevin Rice's report, we didn't hire those positions.
You're correct, we didn't hire those positions because no teachers were available. However, we hired those services that cost us additional funding. So if we were going to hire 3 teachers at approximately $80,000, it would have been $240,000 out of the budget. What you failed to look at or failed to come in to talk to me about, which I would be more than happy to explain, is that we probably spent $320,000 on those outside services. So those services were provided. I cannot, nor can Mr. Vaughn, go out there and create teachers that are not there. So at that point, then we reach out to different organizations to provide those services. That costs us an additional funding. So we were glad that we had a couple teachers retire that we could increase to take and pay that $80,000 extra. If not, we'd have to come back to the board and then ask the board to cut something. We had that in additional in the carryover fund. So as you go through this year process, and which I encourage you to watch to see what happens and continue to ask questions versus making statements that are inaccurate. Okay.
I don't make inaccurate statements. I pulled it off.
Thank you for letting me finish my comment. I appreciate
Well,
that.
I apologize. I just want to don't.
Thank you very much. I won't say anything else tonight since you won't let me
Pull it right
finish my
off the
comment.
reports.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your hospitality.
Well, I would encourage you to sit down with Kevin, the superintendent, and whoever else, and kind of get a good understanding of what's. It's easy to make an accusation. It's a whole lot better to sit down and have a good, solid discussion where everybody understands all of it. I think that would be best for everybody.
But I wasn't making that. I was just pointing to information that I found. And this meeting right here is our business meeting. This is where we discuss things. There's a principle behind this. So the people in our general community can see what needs to be said and have a more informed discussion, an opinion about their school system. That's it.
And we need to be more informed. I don't mind saying that. I've read your emails from the past. You need to get informed, not come and make an accusation that may not be 100% true. Not that you're making something that's false. You just need all the most up-to-date current information that you can have to look at. And you're not going to get that pulling out a report. You actually need to go look and see where we're at this date and time for this particular report that you're wanting to see. Because things change all the time. The budget is very fluid. There's a lot of things that change in it every day. And you will see at some point in time you may be making reappropriations for things later in the year. I think it'd be good if y'all sit down and have the conversation. Because that's the way I learned. I think every board member here has learned the same way by sitting down and asking these questions and having it explained to them. And if you have more questions, feel free to ask. And it's not to keep anything from being said, but when you say something, you need to be informed. Based on facts, not emotions.
I know, but I'm highly informed. And when you make year-end appropriations, okay, those year-end decisions don't help the students at the beginning of the year. They only help the next year students.
And the money from the year before helped that year's student.
Yeah.
The money that's left over from this year will help next year's student. Okay. Any other comments or questions on that?
I'd like to make a comment. I think, Mr. Kern, I know your heart's in the right place. You want to make sure that there are, teachers' aides in each classroom and helping the kids with disabilities. I get that. I understand that completely. I think what we need to do as a board is look at that during our budget process and say, okay, how many aides do we have in the classrooms? How many special ed aides do we have? Let's look at that and discuss that during our budget process and get serious about it. And I think that's where you're coming from. It may have come across a different way, but I understand your concerns. So just to let you know, I do understand that.
Thank you.